The Saw are known for its devious traps and the gruesome deaths that come from it. However, some people have been smart and daring enough to escape Jigsaw's evil contraptions. These people witnessed horrific deaths, dismemberments, blood loss, and much more, but they did not give up on their will to live. Before diving into the video, please subscribe to our channel. Now here are top 10 people that escaped traps in the Saw franchise. In the first Saw movie, Dr. Lawrence Gordon finds himself in a really bad situation. He wakes up in a filthy bathroom, chained to a pipe with another guy named Adam. They are both part of a sick game by a psycho killer called Jigsaw, who likes to test people's will to live. Jigsaw tells Dr. Gordon that he has to kill Adam by 6 o'clock p.m., or else his family will die. He also gives him a hacksaw, but it's not strong enough to cut the chain. Dr. Gordon realizes that the only way he can get out of there is to cut off his own foot, which is crazy and horrifying. He decides to do it anyway, because he loves his family and wants to save them. He saws off his foot in a very graphic and painful scene, and then crawls out of the room. He leaves Adam behind, but he says he'll come back for him. This is one of the most shocking and memorable scenes in the movie because it shows how far Dr. Gordon is willing to go to survive. In the second Saw movie, Addison Corday is one of 8 people who are trapped in a house full of poisonous gas by Jigsaw. She finds a glass box with a needle inside, which she thinks has an antidote for the gas. However, when she puts her hands into the box through 2 holes, she gets stuck and her hands get sliced by razor blades. She tries to pull her hands out, but she only makes it worse. She realizes that the only way she can get out is to cut her wrists and bleed to death, which is awful and hopeless. She does it anyway because she has no other choice. She dies shortly after, and it turns out that the needle was actually filled with acid, which would have killed her anyway. This is one of the most brutal and ironic traps in the movie because it shows how Jigsaw likes to play with his victims and make them suffer. In the third Saw movie, Jeff Demlin is a guy who is very angry and bitter about the death of his son in a car accident. He blames 3 people for it: a witness who didn't testify against the driver, a judge who gave a light sentence to the driver, and the driver himself. He is kidnapped by Jigsaw, the crazy killer who likes to put people in twisted games, and he has to face 3 tests related to these people. He has to decide whether to save them or let them die in horrible ways. He fails all 3 tests and lets them die because he can't forgive them. He reaches the final room where he finds John Kramer, who is Jigsaw's real name, lying on a hospital bed with a brain tumor. John tells Jeff that he has one final choice. He can either kill him with a power saw or forgive him and walk away with his wife and daughter, who are also trapped in the building. Jeff chooses to kill John, but as he does so, he triggers a shotgun that kills his wife. He also learns that his daughter is locked in a safe that will open only if John's heart rate monitor stops. John dies and the safe remains locked, leaving Jeff trapped with his dead wife and daughter. This is one of the most tragic and emotional traps in the movie because it shows how Jeff's anger and revenge only lead to more pain and loss. In the fourth Saw movie, Daniel Rigg and Eric Matthews are 2 cops who are both involved in John Kramer's investigation. Rigg is obsessed with saving people, while Matthews has been held captive by Jigsaw for 6 months. They are both part of another game by Jigsaw, who wants to test Rigg's obsession and Matthews' survival. Rigg has to face 4 tests related to his colleagues and friends, while Matthews is held captive in a room with 2 large ice blocks suspended above him. A chain around Matthews' neck connects him to a device that will crush his head between the ice blocks if Rigg fails his tests or arrives too early. Rigg passes his tests and reaches the room where Matthews is held, but he arrives too early and triggers the device. He tries to save Matthews by shooting the chain that holds him, but he only manages to break 1 link. Matthews is still pulled by the chain and his head is smashed by the ice blocks. Rigg escapes from the room by shooting the lock on the door before it closes. This is one of the most violent and shocking traps in the movie because it shows how Rigg's obsession and Matthews' captivity are both manipulated by Jigsaw. In the 5th Saw movie, there are 5 people who are involved in a building fire that killed 8 people. They are trapped in a series of rooms that require them to sacrifice parts of their bodies to proceed. The final room has 5 beakers attached to 5 scales on a table. A tape recorder tells them that they have to fill each beaker with 10 pints of blood or they will all die. They realize that they could have worked together in all the previous rooms and saved more people, but now only 2 of them are left: Britt Stevenson and Malik Scott. They decide to cooperate and cut their arms on 2 saw blades above the table, dripping blood into the beakers until they reach 10 pints each. They survive and unlock the door to freedom. This is one of the most gruesome and gory traps in the movie because it shows how much blood they have to lose to live. In the 6th Saw movie, there is a man named William Easton, who is an executive of an insurance company that denied coverage to John Kramer for his cancer treatment. He has to face 4 tests related to his role in deciding who lives and who dies based on their health status. The 3rd test involves 6 of his employees who are tied to a rotating carousel with shotguns aimed at them. A tape recorder tells William that he has to choose 2 of them to live and 4 of them to die by pressing buttons that will activate or deactivate the shotguns. He has only 4 buttons and 1 minute to decide. He chooses to save 2 women who have families and children over 4 men who are single or divorced. He presses the buttons and watches as the shotguns blast 4 of his employees in the chest, killing them instantly. He saves the 2 women, but he feels guilty and sad for his choices. This is one of the most stressful and emotional traps in the movie because it shows how William has to play God and choose who deserves to live or die. The wisdom teeth combination trap is a trap from Saw 3D that targets Bobby Dagan, who is a liar and a fraud. He pretends to be a survivor of a Saw game and writes a book about it, but he's actually making it all up. He gets kidnapped by the real Jigsaw killer and has to face 4 tests that are related to his lies and his book deal. Bobby makes his way to a small room. A television turns on before him, enabling him to see his wife, who is screaming for help. As he looks around, the killer informs him that the metal door before him is the last obstacle between him and his wife. In order to open it, he has to enter the combination. The necessary numbers are engraved onto his 2 upper wisdom teeth. When the tape ends, he grabs pliers lying on a table and begins to pull his teeth out. While screaming in agony, he struggles with himself but is soon able to remove both of his teeth before his wife is murdered. Thereby, he manages to successfully open the door. The dual chainsaw trap is one of the many gruesome traps that appear in the movie Saw 3D. On a Sunday morning in the town square, 2 friends named Brad and Ryan wake up inside a glass box to see themselves shackled to chainsaws. They look upwards and realize that it is Dina, their lover. Soon people start gathering to witness this commotion. Brad asks them to break the windows down to free them, but no matter how hard the people try, they are unable to do that. Some watchers call the police and wait for them. Inside the box, the Jigsaw killer explains the rules of the game. In 60 seconds, one of them has to die or else Dina will be killed. Both of them think that Dina is their lover only. When the timer starts, they struggle to kill each other in a tug-of-war match. Dina says "I love you" to Brad to motivate him into killing Ryan, but Ryan manages to land a hit on Brad. Seeing this, Dina starts to confess her feelings for Ryan. At this point, the men realize that the woman has outplayed both of them and cheated during their relationships. They see only one way of escaping the trap, which is to murder the lying woman. The bro code kicks in and both join hands to make sure the timer runs out and Dina is killed. The police arrive, but is too late for Dina. However, Brad and Ryan are saved. The reverse bear trap is also one of the many gruesome traps that appear in the movie Saw. In a police station, Detective David Tapp and Detective Stephen Singh talk to a woman named Amanda Young who is clearly going through some mental trouble. She explains that she was a victim of the Jigsaw killer's trap and survived. The detectives ask her to explain what she remembers, and so she narrates her escape story. She says that she woke up in a dark room with the trap on her head. She struggled to get free but was unable to do so. Soon, the Jigsaw killer starts explaining the trap to her, showcasing its lock and its working, which scares Amanda. The killer explains that the key to open the lock on her head is inside a dead cellmate's abdomen. Amanda frees herself from the shackles and the timer starts. She walks over to the dead body of the cellmate, but little does she know that the guy is not dead, but just drugged. She gets a knife and starts to kill the guy. Detective Tapp asks her to explain what happened later, and she says that she got hold of the key successfully and unlocked the trap just in time before it snapped. Had she been a second late, her jaw would have ripped wide open, just like we witness in other Saw movies. Later, the killer arrived and congratulated her on surviving the trap. Detective Tapp says that Amanda is a drug addict, the same drug that was used to put his cellmate to sleep. This adds a hint of irony to the Jigsaw killer's horrid traps. Amanda survived, but she is mentally wounded for her remaining life. In Jigsaw, there are 5 people who are involved in a robbery that resulted in the death of an innocent man. They are trapped in a barn with buckets on their heads that are connected to chains that pull them towards a wall of circular saws. A tape recorder tells them that they have to offer a sacrifice of blood to escape. They try to pull back, but the chains are too strong. Anna, one of the victims, realizes that they have to cut themselves and drip blood on a sensor that will stop the chains. She cuts her hand and bleeds on the sensor, causing the chains to stop and the buckets to fall off. She frees herself and the others from the trap. This is one of the most simple and clever traps in the movie because it shows how Anna uses her intelligence and courage to solve the puzzle and how the others follow her example. It also shows how Jigsaw, or rather his apprentice, wants them to appreciate their lives and repent for their crimes by giving up some of their blood. Which one of these trap escapes was your favorite? Was it the dismemberment of Dr. Lawrence, or maybe the split-second save by Amanda, or the survival of the cold-blood murderer William Easton? Do you think you could have survived any of these traps? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time with more content like this.